As Mary said, this is a PSA that our station created earlier this year, and the guy way down on the end, Amir, actually edited it. You'll probably see a familiar face as the voice of it, but we were asked to put something together to show people the different ways to find us on our different outlets. So that's what this is.
Excellent introduction.
Gee, thanks.
Hi, I'm Rice Lake Community Media Executive Director James Weingart. We wanted to take a few moments to let you know about the different ways that you can watch programming from Rice Lake Community Media. You know, we've come a long way from the days where you had to have cable in order to find us. Now, you can still watch us on Charter Spectrum, Channel 992. You can also find us on Mosaic, Select Communications, Channel 993, and their streaming service if you don't have a set-top box, kind of like this one. We also provide a live stream in high definition on our website, which is ricelaketv.com. We've also added other ways recently for you to find great local programming in the last couple of years. We now have apps on Apple TV, on Roku, and on Amazon Fire devices. To find us on any of these OTT or over-the-top apps, all you need to do is search for Rice Lake Community Media and then add us to your favorite channels. There you have it. 7 different ways for you to find sports, council meetings, school board meetings, informative local programmings, all from Rice Lake Community Media. Thanks as always for watching and supporting our efforts in the community.
Yeah. One other quick note about that, it's, believe it or not, that's actually outdated already. I'm very happy to report that on our select channel 993, we're in high definition now. So to those of you down in this part of the world with TDS, I have my own version of TDS up north. So, and please, if you would be so kind as to give Amir a hand too. He worked on that a lot and did a fantastic job with it.
We just took away your chair.
So I'm not part of this panel anymore?
Yeah, you are.
Here, you can sit on.
I can just stand.
Sit on somebody's lap.
You want a chair?
Get a handheld mic.
Give him the handheld.
Just sit down in front of us, Jeff.
Come on up here, Jeff.
Unless you want this mic.
Just use
James,
that.
go ahead. It's fine. I'll whatever.
It's just crowded. That's all. Your name card's right there. Well, no, you sit down. I'll stand. Well, I'm much younger than you. Okay, I'll let you do it. Not that much younger than me.
They just took away a chair. I didn't understand that.
Okay. Thanks.
We didn't think that Jeff.
It was pandemonium up here for a second.
What? It still is.
Still is.
All right, I'd like to welcome everybody to the closing luncheon roundtable, the final event of the whole week. The event is called Giving Young People a Chance to Become Passionate About Local Media Creation. And we'll just kind of have everyone introduce themselves, say their name, the station they work for, and their title. My name is Kevin Bargender. I work for WTCO in Trempealeau County, and I am the digital media director.
My name is Ivo Mori, and I work for Rice Lake Community Media in Rice Lake, Wisconsin.
I'm Amir Ahizone. I also work for Rice Lake Community Media, and I am their intern.
My name is Ben Bex. I am the media producer for McFarland Cable, WMCF.
I have already been introduced.
My name is Karen Anderson, and I work for CAN-TV in Chicago, and I'm a training coordinator.
Jeff Robbins from Sun Prairie Media Center. Can't hear you. Damn you.
I couldn't hear him either, and I'm next to him. Jim Knightright, I'm with CAN-TV. I'm the training manager.
Will Nimmo, City of Monona, Monona Community Media.
All right, so I think I'm going to go to my PowerPoint first. Speaking of getting young people involved, last summer we had an intern. It was Summer LTE, which stands for Limited Term Employment. summer student for our station. And it worked really great. His name is Titus Buell, and he actually won an Excellence Award. And I'll actually go to the PowerPoint now.
It was too expensive for a bigger stage.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So like I said, his name is Titus Buell. I know it was a kind of a rough pronunciation last night, but hopefully we got it today. So we paid him $9.75 an hour. That was just kind of the going rate that we were always paying interns last year, and in the previous years as well. This year, I went to our committee and asked if we could increase that to $11.50 an hour. We just needed to be more competitive out there. Students can get jobs for as much as 15, maybe even higher than that as an entry level at other places. So I felt like we needed to be really competitive compared to everyone else in the private sector. I budgeted for it and then asked the committee, and they were really welcoming for it, and had a little bit of pushback from some people. They're like, well, some people do free internships, and I'm like, yeah, I did free internships in college, but I feel like we're almost sort of past that in a way. So, fortunately or unfortunately, we're going to have to pay people now. So this is Titus at Catfish Days. He was recording a parade for us, and it was actually his first event he did. And I made sure to get a picture of him so I could show everybody. But he was not a guy that likes to be in front of the camera, but mainly behind it, do like a lot of the IT stuff. He was so good at what he did. I mean, he came in and was pretty much, he knew how to use Premiere and edit. He knew how to use our cameras. It was just like the dream situation. He'd been kind of almost groomed in high school to do this, and he came in as going into his junior year, and he did just absolutely phenomenal. Barely had to really even train him, just kind of tell him what to do and how to do it. So here are some examples of his videos, and I hope they work.
Sounds great. What?
I don't have any power over the computer sound, so don't stare at me.
Good afternoon and welcome to the 2022 Ettrick Fun Days Parade.
So this is another one that he worked on.
Before we get started, we have
The window's opening in the other.
Another window.
Just drag it over.
Have to slide it over.
So should I just close the
Or
PowerPoint?
or just minimize it.
And then you should be able to drag it over.
How do I do that?
Oh, now you can just open it and play it. Oh,
It's not showing up.
it's still up.
Oh, there
Oh,
we
here we
go.
go. Okay, finally. So this was kind of just one of the examples of the parades that he did.
coming down the road here.
We kind of just set him up next to the PA announcer so we could get some actual commentary on the parade.
While you're doing that, why don't I say something and we'll keep it moving?
Sure. Yep.
Awesome. So how many people, let's just raise a hand, how many people actually work with students at all with what they do? Well, that's pretty good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's over half. That's pretty cool. Paid? Yeah, that's pretty good. How much?
$10.
15? 15 in Oregon. 16 Stone's like, you can drive a little further. We'll pay for gas. 15? 16? Oh, you guys are fighting it out back there in that little corridor.
Squeeze back in.
Yep.
All right. So I was going to show you more of the video that he won the Excellence Award on last night. but for some reason it's not working. But anyway, he was just really great and won an achievement award as well. So it was really, I felt very fortunate that we were able to get him last year. So next I kind of want to get into, yep.
Why is he in the past tense?
He is not. Well, he's still alive, and he's not going to be returning this year. He had a lot of other events going on. He was part of like track and the band and everything, so he's not able to return this summer, unfortunately. So we're currently looking for a summer LTE person to fill his role, and we haven't had any applications yet, unfortunately. But we're going to try to kind of pressing it a little bit more in the schools and giving it to whoever we can to promote it and hopefully find some people. We had an issue with our HR. We had a brand new HR that just came in, and they accidentally put that you had to be 18 and you had to be graduated from high school in order to apply. And so we had to, pull that all back and say, no, you don't have to be 18. You don't have to have graduated already. So that, I'm sure that might have possibly deterred some people at first. So then next, I kind of wanted to talk about when and how each of us got started in media and why. For me, I was in 8th grade. We had a project with iMovie, and I had never edited a video or done anything with any form of media before. And we had to go out, do a kind of a 3 project. We had to do like a PSA, we had to do a current event, and then like a historical event. And we had to use iMovie to edit it, and it was like really fun. And I was really excited to do it. And after that, I was like, well, why don't I do this at home? There's Windows Movie Maker you can download on your PC as well at the time. So I started doing that, and I was like, this is really fun. And I started doing kind of compilation videos. I started doing wedding videos, and people are like, wow, you're really good at this. You should consider this as a career. I was like, no way. This is too hard, and I don't want to do it. And it's fun, but it's just too much work, and I'm never going to work in media. So it's not going to be, anything. It's just, I'm just doing it for fun. I wasn't getting paid or anything. So then later in high school, we had another video project and did really well on that. And I was like, well, okay, I guess I'm okay at this. It's not something I really thought I would be good at. And then in college, they kind of asked, like, well, what's your, what do you kind of want for emphasis in your major? And I had media studies or public relations. And I was like, well, I want to stick to public relations, which is also important in this field, but I really wish I would have stuck with media studies just for obvious reasons. And so then after college, I really still had no idea what I wanted to do. And I actually got referred to by my dad. It was called Zaleski Sports. They cover high school sports in central Wisconsin. I started working with them. Didn't really know much about recording or editing, especially Premiere was very foreign to me. I'd only used it a couple of times before, and it looked really devastating to try to learn. And just over time, you just get better at doing it. Once you just go out and record events and come back and edit them up into 3-minute clips, the more you do it, the better you get. And started doing that and did that for about a year. And then the position opened in Wisconsin Rapids for the communication specialist assistant. And Andy Radig, who's in our audience, hired me, so I was really excited and happy for that. And so that's kind of how I got into government media. I really didn't even know much about government media before this, and I was really happy that someone was willing to take a chance on me from having only about a year of experience in media. And then eventually, now I work for WTCO as the director. So that's kind of my long answer on how and why I got started. Where do you want to go next?
The way that I got started in working with media and the AV side of things was I've always just kind of had an interest in AV equipment. Ever since I was a little kid, I've always kind of like collected either cheap or dated AV equipment, played around with it, and I thought that that was really neat. Then fast forward to when I was 12 or 13, somewhere around there, I picked up a volunteering little, job sort of thing at a local theater in Rice Lake, and did lights and sound for them. That I feel like was kind of like my real introduction into how, working in the public aspect of AV. I think that's kind of when that really took off for me. And since then, fast forward to last summer, I got a job here, well, not here, but in Rice Lake Community Media. I was told by David and Micah over there. They persuaded me into it. And yeah, here I am.
How I sort of got working in media is that I can't pinpoint when I enjoyed watching things, but at some point I realized my eyes really like watching things. And so thanks to probably YouTube, I saw these people, like kids or even adults, like making films, like their own personal videos, and I was like, that's awesome, that's cool. And I want to do that, which when kids want to do something, it's not as good because they don't have experience. But I did not have the kind of cringe that I have now seeing my older works. But so I would just try and make stuff. I realized I should probably edit my videos to make them look better. And so that's when I sort of looked around and I picked up, I believe, Sony New Vegas as my first video editing software. And I started to learn just the Adobe Suite in general. And so this year, my senior year in high school, I was offered an opportunity through the school to do an internship somewhere. And I had no idea what I wanted to do. So I know the year prior, Evo was in my chemistry class and he's telling me about this great place, Rice Lake Community Media, with a lovely director, James Weingard. And, he was telling me they filmed local events, they had snacks, and so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so,
Bribes always help.
and so, come around the time that this internship is gonna happen, it's also a time where I need a job. And so I went there on my own accord, first off, like a week before the class, I believe, sometime earlier before the class, and I met James. And they were doing a football game later that week, and I decided I'll sit in. And at that football game, I actually directed for the first time, really, unless you count my older works, which I don't. But after that, Kelly Orr, which was the business teacher, got in contact with James, and I don't know how the email exactly went, but James ended up recognizing that it was the kid who directed football that earlier that week who was doing the internship, and so I got 9 weeks with him in the winter as an internship, and after that, he kept the snack cabinet full, so I had to keep coming back, and that's how I got to here.
So I got my start when I was a lot younger, probably 12. They did you do summer school when your mom doesn't want you to just hang out and play video games all summer. So you would be forced to take these summer school classes. I got one that was like an intro to video editing. Then I took another class in high school as a freshman where I got a lot more training. And then the teacher was just telling this story about how he was like just a cable runner for the university, or for UW-Madison for a football game. And I just thought that was the coolest thing ever. And I was like, I just want something kind of like that. And he told me about the local cable channel who was just so happening to do a game like that night, a football game that night. And they're like, I think they need a volunteer. You should probably go there. So I did, and I became a volunteer, did that for a couple of years. They really would just pay me with expired coupons. Nothing really serious. You weren't even director then. But over time, I'd keep asking them, like, do you guys have a position open? I mean, I'd love to work as a camera operator and do more things like that. And they eventually a position opened up, and I got that job. I started doing it a little more and loving it more and more. And then I graduated from high school, and I went to Madison Area Technical College in the visual communications program, and just kind of sharpened my tools a little more. Started learning more to do with editing and the Creative Suite and just After Effects, which I'm in love with now. And through like sheer luck, eventually after graduating, I was looking for jobs, got a couple interviews, got a couple people who didn't even offer any, and I managed to just get promoted to the media producer at McFarland Cable. So it's been great. It's awesome.
I'll make mine short and sweet. So I started, my first taste of public access media was my sophomore year in high school, which I'm okay to say that was the fall of 1989.
Holy moly.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. So in a way, in a sense, I've been involved in this world for about 35 years now, and considering I just turned 50 in December, that's more than 2/3 of my life. Started at UW Whitewater in 1992, and first day I walked in, the radio station director had changed, and he's like, "Do you want to do something?" I said, "Yep." My first desk was under a radiator. So that's where I got my start. And since then, it's been radio and TV ever since, 31 straight years now. And, this is I tell people all the time, I've tried desperately to get out of it several times, but for some reason, it just keeps sucking you back in. And if people are in this for a long time, you kind of know what I'm talking about. And, as I look at this dais, and thank you, Evo, for pointing out David and Mike over there, because I would be remiss if I didn't say thanks to them as well. I have a connection to, I think, just about everybody except this young lady who's on this dais. I worked in Sun Prairie with Jeff. Will and I have been on a couple of committees together. Kevin is at WTCO, where Derek used to be. Ben and I did some productions together in McFarland, and Evo and Amir work for me. So, connections. It's really and truly all about connections.
How appropriate that I'm next, because I don't have any connections.
I'll be your first connection.
This is awesome. And so, the thing that just made me laugh was looking at the pay for the intern. That's what they were paying us 20 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I remember graduating from college with my degree in production and ready to go, and they offered me that, and I could only work 20 hours a week, and they got to choose which 20 hours it was every week. And I was like, I can't do that. And so I went to work for a newspaper instead. And eventually I worked for a book publishing company, and then I moved on to 10 O'Clock News, where I got to be a producer. And so I got a whole lot of experience. And so when I interviewed with Jim a couple of months ago, he was like, yes, come. And this has been the best job of my life, because I get to meet with people every day and show them how to tell their stories. And so we get to sit down and talk about, what do you want to make? And they give me their dreams, and we talk about how to make it happen. And so this has been the bestest experience ever.
Karen got the bug. Karen, before you go, when you were in high school, though, you participated in...
Yes. When I was in high school, when I was about 15 years old, I participated in a program where they took us youth, where they taught us about journalism. And it was like a 2 or 3 week program where we would go and we would spend time with journalists and professors, and we created an actual newspaper from the process. And so that really got me hooked. I was like, oh, wow, I can do this. It introduced me to the concept of the Fourth Estate and the impact it had on our government.
So like my good friend James, I was growing up watching Milton Berle and Fibber McGee and Molly on TV, and I thought that, that's fun. TV seems like a fun thing to do. So I went to school, to study radio, TV, film. Realized I didn't have any talent, so I got a job in administration at WISC Channel 3. Worked there for about 15 years, and came to Sun Prairie in 2014, and the rest is history.
Tim, you?
Okay, yeah, I can do that. I'm one of those people who got started in high school, and my high school had a TV station where we were doing announcements, and we were poorly supervised, and so I got to learn a lot of things by trying and breaking things. But we were people that got tapped to help produce a show that was airing on the new public access channel in Toledo, which stopped existing as soon as the requirement went away. So, but I got pulled in at that really as a sophomore in high school, and went on. I'm not going to go through the whole.
Oh, come on.
My first job at community media. Well, while I was working at a TV station after college, I was also helping out at the University of Toledo, and one of the instructors there, Dave Block, was working at a few people don't remember Dave. He hung around with a bunch of people like Sue Buskey and those folks. And Dave Block was talking about public access and talking about it, and he dragged me to an Alliance for Community, an NFLCP conference in Indiana, and that got me hooked in it. I thought that this is really what I want to do, and I went to a national conference, and I didn't realize it, but at breakfast I had a job interview that I didn't know was a job interview, and I got hired by Roxy Cole to work in Dayton, and worked there for a few years before moving on up into Michigan, doing some stuff with Ross and things like that. So anyway, okay.
Yeah, I really, growing up, didn't have any interest other than sports, and so when I went to college, I picked radio and TV, and here I sit. So I don't have a great story other than I just kind of went in because it's the only thing I was interested in, or was the only thing that I could go to school for that didn't have science and math and English as a focus. So that's all I got. Loser. All right.
Let me.
Hey, I have kind of this like very similar, like I just hated math and science in school. I was like, how can I avoid it and also do something fun that wasn't necessarily strictly business related? So yeah, I kind of had a similar, college background of that as well. And next, just to save some time, we'll talk about how best to reach students and grab their interest early on. I think it also depends a lot on the type of student. Students that are already enrolled in tech classes and editing classes, those students will have interest. And so I think if we can reach those through schools, I think that'll be kind of a good way to start. I kind of got lucky my first year. My coworker Rick, his wife, teaches classes at Blair Taylor High School, editing videos and other IT things, and she kind of handpicked him for us and said that he'd be a really great student for us in the summer. And so sometimes it's just having the right connections, networking. You never know when you can use somebody and ask them, hey, do you know someone that could help us this summer and cover more events? And I think also, other than just the money too, it also show what we provide as value, kind of a mentorship in a way. We can train the students, kind of give them some projects. For Titus, we kind of focused more on parades and school functions. He was already in school, so we could kind of link through him, like, hey, what's going on in your school that we should cover? Especially for me, it was my first year last year, so I had no idea what was going on in the community. So I had to rely on a lot of other people to help me get through the year, and it was great. He did the Whitehall video, and because otherwise I would have had no idea like they were actually even doing the pageant that night, and I didn't realize how big of a deal it was to the community at the time. So I guess I'll kind of go to everyone else here too. What do you think what was the best way for us, do you think, to reach you?
I think one of the ways that worked the best to reach like me and people like me are being kind of like a friendly face in the community. Working and getting into media and television sounds intimidating to somebody like me who's 18 years old, because it sounds, I mean, it sounds scary because it seems like really like difficult, and you need all this like training and stuff, but any job needs training. And getting to know people, once you know a couple people in the industry, especially like really locally, that kind of all goes away, and it seems more like real to you, I guess. And like David and Micah, again, I'll bring them up. Knowing those two and having them, you know, tell me about the job and stuff really kind of made the intimidation factor of that go away, and that helped a lot, and that's what I guess got me into the building. Yeah, and I have people when we go to film, you know, concerts, especially elementary concerts, the kids are always like, "What's that? What's that?" And I like to, you know, be friendly and tell them what things are, because I feel like that'll, you know, even at such a young age, I guess, kind of connect them with the field and be like, "Oh, that's neat. This person's nice. Those people aren't scary," you know, stuff like that.
I think like the best possible way to reach the next generation of filmmakers and community media members is probably like getting out there. Like word of mouth is how originally I heard about Rice Lake Community Media through Evo, and he heard it through David and Micah. And so I think just having some sort of presence where like students like me who've been doing kind of working on independent projects for a while, they want to get out there and they want to do more with what they have sometimes. And so just knowing that there is somewhere in your community that you can work on your skills and also benefit those around you is great. And I'm so fortunate that Kelly Orr, the business teacher, has that internship class, because it gave me an opportunity to miss out on school and do something I love doing. So 2 in 1. But just getting out there, I think, is a big part of how we can help more people get into the field.
I just think like the most difficult part is obviously getting them into the door. Like the best way, I think, is working through school districts if they're willing to help. Seems like a lot, especially you two, like me, we got our way in by just finding something besides school, like something in school that isn't school, you know? And it was very fun. But I agree, it was very intimidating when you first start, and I think one of the most important things is getting them in the door is great and important, but like keeping them in and just, you know, like showing them that this is possible, it's easier. It's one thing that really helped me was, when I first started operating a camera, my first production, not knowing that there's a Zoom controller and everything, just being willing to be super accommodating. Like everybody was friendly to me, everybody was nice to me. They showed me, they were very polite and patient, and it really warmed me up a little bit more to where I started getting in. I started feeling more proud of myself for getting into these things, and it just made me want that extra thing. Like now I know this, and I want to like start experimenting with all these other things, and as soon as I got into that, I wanted to do more, so I got into editing, and then I really loved editing, and I wanted more than editing, and then I got into motion animation, and I mean it's really just getting them into the door and being happy that they're there, and yeah, just stuff like that.
So I had the greatest recruiter that I could have in order to get my staff, because when I first got to Rice Lake, the athletic director for the high school asked me to take over announcing the football games. And I said, okay, I'll do that, but you're going to find me a camera person, because announcing, taking stats, doing replays, doing graphics, and paying attention to all of that at the same time is next to impossible. It can be done, not well, but it can be done. So the athletic director found me David, And then it just kind of cascaded from there. And I had 4 people all of a sudden in about 6 months' time. And I heard in one of the workshops earlier, they were I think, Paul, you were talking about doing 166 live streams last year. Well, with the 5 of us, we did 313 shows last year. And without this staff, that obviously wouldn't have happened because I would be by myself. So to be able to rely on these guys to go out and do a concert or do another event while I'm stuck at City Hall doing the fun and exciting council meetings is just phenomenal. To be able to rely on them to take over. And Amir, I actually wrote a cue card for you in the version in honor of Tim Russert. Snacks, snacks, snacks. That's what got you in the door.
Okay, for at our program at CAN TV, one of the things we are fortunate is we have a youth program, and one of the things that really works is having them together, because they are less intimidated together, and they all work on stuff together, and so the only adults around are like me and Jim, an occasional other person, and so there's less intimidation and more, okay, we're all in this kind of together, and we also get to kind of help them be able to tell whatever story they want to tell. And at first they are a little taken back because they want us to come in and tell them what to do. And it's like, no, we want to hear what you have to say about what you want to talk about. And once they really start to get into it, that kind of like spurs their interest. And that makes them say, well, wait, okay, I can do this. I can tell my own story and somebody will listen? Wow. Okay, and so maybe it's going to spur more and more and more people to want to do this. But Jim, you can tell them more about the program.
Yeah, I should. Okay. We just finished our first cohort. So our program is about as long as Karen's been working for me. And I'm excited about it. We got a grant, and so we take 10 people. And the age range we have is between 16 and 24, and I know that's a very large range. But most of our people who are participating are high school aged people. And they go for 10 weeks. And we go through everything as far as working in the studio, working in field production equipment, editing, and we throw in a bit of storytelling and journalism into that. It's our Youth Voices program. It's at, if you go to cantv.org/institute, that's where our page is for doing that. And the other thing, we talked a long time in setting this up. We've been working on this since last fall. And one of the problems we were having at CAN TV that we noticed was that we were trying to be the traditional public access channel. And that was like first come, first serve, and that was about it as far as things go. And our demographics, as far as people who are using the channel, were getting older. And we realized that we weren't extending an invitation to the youth, so they weren't coming in. And so this is one of our efforts to try to get more people coming in, is to start making this invitation out for people.
How
Yeah.
did you invite them in?
We asked everybody to ask whoever they knew. We started talking out, and it worked. We started working on a relationship with Chicago Public Schools, which we had one in the past, and it had gone away, and so we had to do a lot of work with trying to get that going with them. We started doing school tours, and doing that, and having people from city colleges, their classes coming in, and so I've done about 7 school tours in the last 2 months.
And our current producers?
And our current producers, yes. We've been asking our current producers that we know that are already working with people. We got a number of churches that are doing stuff, and they've got a kid that's working with their stuff, with they're trying to do their service and stuff. And so them recommending people to come in. And so we've gotten them from a lot of different places that way, but trying to extend that, get the invitation out, which is really great because it was you that said just being there and being open and them and stuff. And the word of mouth is helping us in terms of getting it going. Our first cohort ended last Saturday, and so we had 8 people out of the 10 complete the program, which is actually, I guess, a pretty good number for this kind of a thing. We did pay them a stipend when they participated, and that was out of the grant money. So it's because, they got $1,000 for completing the program, which we doled out in every 2 weeks. So if you didn't come, you didn't get your stipend. And that's kind of what we did to try to keep them involved and stuff. When I talked to, Simonia at the Walker Museum in, what's that? Oh, okay. So, Simonia at the Walker Museum in Minneapolis. She runs their youth program at the Walker Museum, and she was real helpful. She's on the board of directors for St. Paul Neighborhood Network, and she helped us trying to write up rules and trying to have all the safeguards in play. Like Karen mentioned that there's 2 of us there. We try to keep 2 adults around all the time with the folks, and trying to go through the mandated reporter guidelines from the state and all that stuff. We did that just like any park district program would have to do in Illinois. Yeah. And let's see. I think that's about it. That's the program we're doing. Tomorrow we start our second cohort. We're hoping to get 5 cohorts in this year. Go ahead.
Who's the grant from?
Hmm?
You said you got a grant to do this?
We had a grant from Old National Bank, one of the banks in town, gave us a $50,000 grant. And the second grant is from Goodwill, is giving us the second grant.
Can I ask what your mission was? Like, what did you sell them? Like, this program would do what?
Would be working on youth and storytelling, and working with we're working with youth who are underrepresented in the area and that stuff. So that's and that the pitching and selling part, that's Darius. Darius Hillman is our executive director, and he's more of a
Pitcher and a seller.
yeah.
Pitcher and a seller.
And so he did that part of it, and we just had to make sure we put together the program and all that stuff. And so that's where the week setting it up has been the thing. Now we got to work on getting our promotional materials out and reminding people that yes, now we have a second cohort. Our third cohort for the year is going to run simultaneously while this one is going on, because we tapped into the to a summer internship program that the Chicago Public Schools has. And so we're going to get 10 interns from the Chicago Public Schools that we're going to have to keep busy with, but their first couple of weeks of interning with us, and it's part-time, 20 hours a week. So those first couple of weeks of that is going to be going through this program again with them. And then after that, they will start working on projects for different departments at CAN-TV. And I know I've got a bunch of projects that I need to redo, because we did a whole bunch of videos during the pandemic, and they're all obsolete. Partly because we bought a new TriCaster, and so so we've got to do that. So we've got a lot of stuff that we can try to I'll keep them busy if nobody else can. But we're working on that. So okay, was Jeff or Will?
Go ahead.
First of all, I want to apologize to Kevin for mispronouncing his name last night at the awards.
That's
Sorry,
all right.
Kevin.
You're not the first person.
So we have, in Sun Prairie, some of you are probably familiar with our Kids 4 program. Kids 4 is a program where kids gather together at the Sun Prairie Media Center, and they work in crews of about 8 to 10, or I guess Thursday night, we have some older kids that do something called Thursday Night Live. Colin, you're familiar with that? And basically, kids work on all kinds of projects, newscasts, commercials, animation. They do radio, and they do everything at the Media Center, from obviously doing the lighting, the sound, the cameras, script writing, obviously being in front of the camera. And this has been around since the 70s. We haven't altered it too much other than just growing it. I think we had 60 kids in the program this year that just wrapped up. It wrapped up last week. And then we've also added summer workshops. So we do week-long workshops with kids during the summer. And I think we have 70-some kids doing workshops this summer, reporting, movie making, podcasting, animation, sports production, sushi I'm just seeing if people are paying attention. And then what's nice about this is not only do they gain the exposure, obviously, on the technical side of things and also the creative side of things, but, they work collaboratively. I think that it helps them. We get a lot of kids that aren't super, they're shy, basically. These are kids that aren't really maybe athletic. Maybe they're not the coolest kids in school, perhaps. And we see a lot of kids that really break out of their shells, get to work collaboratively, get to be better communicators. And also then kids that graduate from Kids 4 that age out of the program, then they become part-timers at the Media Center. So I think, typically we have 4 to 5 kids working at the Media Center every semester, every school year. And I think without exception, those kids have been, those high school students are kids that went through the Kids 4 program. And where's my Janesville people? Nick Faust, who went through the program, is now the communications manager, specialist for City of Sun Prairie. Not City of Sun Prairie, City of Janesville. And he seems fairly normal. The Kids 4 program didn't ruin him or anything.
He's the host of our Park Place Views series, so yeah, we're definitely regular communication basis every day practically.
Awesome. And real quick, I got a couple samples here. These are real recent examples of things that we've done. If this plays, great. If not, we'll just move on. Seems like it's not playing. Wait.
The dreaded blue circle.
Yeah, you say it's tough.
Oh.
Almost. Try it again.
Wait.
There it is.
I'm Wyatt here at the scene of Sun Prairie East High School, where they're doing rehearsals for the Addams Family.
And I'm Leon, asking the questions with Wyatt.
And so we have with us 2 special guests.
I'm Anna Block. I play Wednesday.
And I'm Tessa Wolf, and I'm the director.
Why Addams Family?
I knew that the Wednesday series was coming out, so I wanted to pick a show that maybe we could use at the same time as the Wednesday series, and it also had a lot of really good roles for all the high schoolers that we have in the cast right now.
How many songs are there?
Do we know? I think there's like 25. Maybe a few more, maybe a few less. That's a good question.
How many people are in the cast?
38, is that right? Yeah, 38.
How many people are in the crew?
We have about 25 people in the crew, so there's lots of different roles. So there's people helping backstage, move furniture, there's people running the lights and the sound and spots, and a lot of people who have been helping with costumes as well.
How many parts is there?
Well, you get the idea. I guess the sound. I thought the sound was better on that. So, but yeah, that's just a couple of the examples that obviously we have kids not only in Kids 4 and the crews, and then we try to get them out doing things in the community. And if they do shoot things in the community, parades or music concerts or whatever, then we invite them to a pizza party at the end of the year, which we just had last week. So, I think that's all I got.
Well, let me just ask, because the Kids 4, most of the Kids 4 folks are like middle school aged.
4th grade through 8th grade.
Yeah, and a couple of you had remarked about getting interested in middle school. How many other people are working with middle schoolers? Because we have to get a rule change to do that for us, but it's interesting. It's just that whole that's an interesting time to be trying to get people interested. So that's why it's and because you're working with schools, so this is a good.
For me?
Will.
Yeah,
So
well,
it's
in
it's
high
good,
school-
good, good,
in high
good.
school, yeah.
Yeah. So let me go ahead and transition over to Will.
Oh, sure. Well, I mean, I'll just make it quick because I know we're getting low on time. I think you guys have already said it. You guys mentioned, hey, sorry, Kevin. You guys mentioned that you were intimidated. Like, you obviously, technology wasn't a big deal, but then it got intimidating when all of a sudden you had to do something. And I see that with the high schoolers. Like, the technology's not intimidating, but when you have to all of a sudden perform with a camera that you never use, and it's just that type of thing's maybe a little intimidating. I see that. And I think you hit it perfectly with the cohesion. Every time the students are together and we have a group of students in the AV club at the high school, at Monona anyway, it's a great success and it's wonderful, and students are teaching students, and it's perfect. When we don't have that cohesion, right, common sense doesn't really work. So, because they don't really listen to me, you know, I can't sit here and say, oh, I do it. I don't really do anything other than pay for equipment and try not to say anything stupid that they don't want to be there anymore, right? They do it all. If we're doing it right, they do everything. They bring each other in, they bring their friends in, they teach each other, they push each other. That's really the goal, and what I have seen works the best when it is working the best. Not really anything I'm doing or Brennan, who I work with, is doing, other than hopefully just being a good person they can go to if they need to. Or really, it's a lot of troubleshooting, right? Like, if it gets too high level for them, then we troubleshoot. So I think, you know, everybody here kind of touched on the big points, the cohesion and just kind of, and you mentioned being open and like, hey, which is a little bit intimidating. Maybe you had said that, where it's like, the atmosphere has got to be open to where I feel like I can touch these buttons without getting in trouble.
Be accommodating.
Without getting in trouble. So I think that was part of it that I can see too, is like, you know, and I'm not real good at that, remembering that they know nothing. You know, they can record with their camera and do Snapchat, awesome, but then all of a sudden when you have to do an actual camera and make a story and tilt and pan and zoom and white balance, that's all foreign. And so, yeah, being patient is big.
Yeah, I just think being welcoming is really huge, and being friendly to the students, even if you come from different backgrounds, is just really huge. And networking too, you know, making sure you're speaking to other people, because it's always somebody knows somebody that knows somebody that can, you know, find you the right person, it seems like. So I guess to save a little bit of time, we'll go out to the audience. What questions do you have for any of us up here, or what suggestions do you have or experiences you have with students?
My name's Ethan Bars from City of Wausau. More of a comment, because I'm very young too. I'm 22 years old. When I started working for the city, I was 19 or 20.
You could have got that whiskey. You were old enough.
Yeah, now I am. But I echo the same things as these guys. When I started playing with the camera, I was probably in middle school, and just tinkered with it and stuff. But I think that especially, and I can't really speak to I think the strategy of getting them when they're in middle school, high school is really smart. But I would encourage, like, from what I do is very much a creative marketing side. And I see things kind of going in that direction. Some people want to do, you know, the TV side. I definitely went the creative route. But I would definitely encourage that, like, especially the directors and stuff, that when you have these kids, let them just be creative and create, and encourage them to make passion projects and stuff like that, because that's what I did. I just made YouTube videos growing up, and that's what made me, you know, fall in love with it and just take it from there. So obviously they got to learn, they got to, you know, do the work, which I highly encourage, because it teaches them, you know, good character and work ethic, but then giving them the opportunities while they're working for you guys to just take it and run with it. I highly encourage that.
Yeah, thank you. And when we got our summer student last year, I actually asked him, because I was so new to the area, I was like, what do you think we should cover? And he's like, oh, I have, you know, a couple ideas, and I gave him some assignments obviously as well, but he turned me on to some, you know, new events that I didn't know about, and he did just some really great work. We just kind of showed him, here's the video, edit it, have fun, make it your own. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but I just want to kind of see what you can do, and just being really open with it and just kind of letting them go and saying, hey, what can I learn from you even? There might be some things you learn from the students, and because they're really smart, they just don't, they're just young, really.
Oh,
So I feel like, what we hear a lot is that kids are really into using their iPhones, YouTube. They've got, I don't know, little editing kits in their back pocket. And of course, what we do is not like that. And so there isn't an appeal. It just seems, though, that your stories kind of say that there is a bridge, that you may start doing that kind of thing, but there's a lot of interest and challenge in going further and getting involved in these stations that have more sophisticated, more professional equipment. And I was wondering if you could speak to that, like, that bridge between shooting something with your iPhone to getting involved in something like this. What's the attraction? What led you there?
I never really had an iPhone, so that was the bridge to it. I never had an iPhone, I had a flip phone. So being able to go out there, I mean, it was what made the bridge is just like learning that there's more to do, like than just film a football game. And I guess, yeah, there is going to be these people who watch like vloggers and stuff, or people who are just addicted to their phone. But there is I mean, I don't know exactly how, but it was just being introduced to new things, and then eventually I just started falling for it, I guess. But yeah, just getting them in. I mean, just show it to them and see what they want to create. If they want to create, and yeah, they'll learn the rest.
I think one doesn't have to. It doesn't have to be exclusionary. Is that the word, Will?
Smooth?
No. I mean, we encourage kids that are in Kids 4 to use their devices, their phones, their iPads, whatever. If they want to shoot something on that, we'll air it. It doesn't mean that it's not as good because they didn't use one of our fancy cameras. So we encourage all kinds of creativity.
All right, so I started in community media the day before my 16th birthday, which was 18 years ago. And one of the things that I found that works really well with the high school students is reminding them that they can make mistakes. Like if something comes back with no sound, you go, well, okay. You don't want to harp on them. You don't want to, you really have to just roll with it. That's one of the ways that the high school students don't get discouraged and they want to continue in it. Like, for example, Spencer here, I hired him when he was 14 and now he's full time. So that's been 7 years and he still makes mistakes. I still make mistakes. We all make mistakes. So it's one of the things that it's like high school students need to know. They come in and if they make a mistake, well, that's what happens. You should see the look on a chief engineer's face, though, when our director, Darius Hillman, got up and was saying that go out there and use the equipment and break it. And boy, I'll tell you, you could watch an engineer's jaw drop. It's kind of fun. Anybody else?
My experience with working with interns is that they're coming in eager, but they've got a fear of failure. They just don't want to fail. And if you can break things down simply for them into pieces, it's a lot easier for them to understand. Like you look at a soundboard, it's got 1,000 buttons on it. And you tell the kid, sit down and just do something on this soundboard. But if you break down the soundboard into channels, you got a lot less. This is just duplication of the same thing. Your phone's got a volume button on it right here on the sides. This is the volume button right here. If you want to change the tone on it, you go into your settings. Well, this is these 3 buttons change the tone, you know, and that's really all you need to know for now. Everything, all 12 channels do the same thing, you know. Focus on figuring out how one works and play with it for a while. You're not going to break it, you know. So just simplifying things for them and making them feel comfortable. You know, I used to show a picture of like a Picasso, and then next to a picture of beautiful scenery done by a nobody, and ask him, you know, which one of these do you think is worth more money, or which one's better, you know, or who failed in these, and they're going to pick the Picasso is bad, you know, and you tell them, well, that one's worth millions of dollars, and this one over here is hardly worth anything. So art is objective, you know. You don't fail at art. Art is something that you create, and it's part of you, and no matter how you do it, it's still the way you wanted it done. Can you get better at it? Yes. But you're not a failure.
Real quick, the one comment I always make to my guys is creating a project is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And take your time, get across the finish line, make sure everything's right in spelling, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, it doesn't have to be done in 26 seconds. It'll be fine if it's done a day later, 2 days later. It's a marathon, you know. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I mean, school kind of teaches you, you know, you get penalized if you make a mistake on a test or, you know, a project. Just emphasizing that that's how we learn in this field, is making mistakes. That's what I told Titus. I was like, hey, you know, this isn't like school. This is a lot different. This is, and we encourage mistakes, and I'll still, you know, look at your work at the end and make some corrections if I see something really egregious. But I'm going to kind of let him work on it first, and then I'll look at it at the end. I'm not going to like sit over his shoulder and micromanage him. I don't think anyone likes that. So I try to put myself in their shoes a little bit, because it wasn't that long ago that I was in high school. It's only been, you know, I'm 28 now, but it was only 10 years ago that I was in that position as well. So, and now he's going into his senior year. So just, you know, not be so like, okay, you have to do things this way. Be like, hey, what do you think we should do? And some of these kids have really creative minds, and just encouraging that and not penalizing them for making some minor mistakes. Anybody else have any other questions, or one more?
I just wanted to say, being on the receiving end of that style of training, kind of piggybacking off of the last couple answers, I think that's very good to let all of your, you know, part-timers or interns or whoever's working for you know, like, hey, it's okay if you fail. It's okay if you make mistakes. I know I said that previously, that I was perfect, but I'm not perfect, sadly.
No.
I know.
You're lying.
But I now you don't know if I'm lying or
Just
telling
trying
the
to make
truth.
us all feel better about ourselves.
But I've definitely submitted some concerts, some school concerts to Derek without audio. That's where he got that that example from. And yeah, it's because I plugged in the microphone and I just thought, oh, there's bars. It'll be fine. I don't have to listen. But making mistakes is good. That's the only way you learn. And having your part-timers, or, you know, anyone for that matter, having them or giving them the ability rather to fail in a safe environment, I think is huge, because, you know, they have to fail to learn, but you don't want to like rag on them or make them feel bad about failing. You want to say, hey, it's okay. You know, it happens. We're humans. It happens. So I just wanted to say, from the receiving end of that it's a good way to train.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah, absolutely. And for us, we just kind of started them off with, you know, we started Titus off with some smaller projects where if it, you know, there was a major failure, it wasn't a huge deal. It wasn't like we're covering something extremely important and then he, you know, messed it up. So you can even just, you know, start with some smaller projects where there's less likely of a chance that they're going to fail at it. And if they do, it's not the end of the world. So I think just starting small and not expecting a ton out of these students at first, especially if they don't have any experience. Our student, we were very lucky, he had a ton of experience, and he could almost like start working in our field very soon, I feel like. So not everybody's on that level, and I'm sure in the future we'll have to mentor and teach some of the students coming in, but it was a great experience, and I'm glad people pushed me to get that summer LTE position because it really helped us last year, especially in being my first year. I just needed all the help I could get. Does anybody else have anything else before we wrap up? Well, I'd like to thank everybody for coming to the closing luncheon, coming to the conference in general. It's been really fun, and I'd like to thank all of my panel up here, and everybody, Jim, for going around the room and the mic. It's been really fun, and hope to see everybody again next year. Thanks, and it's Andy Radig's birthday yesterday, so make sure everybody give him a nice round of applause and a happy birthday.